Jews consider it the holiest of places, Israel's Temple Mount, a source of conflict in the Middle East for centuries. Now, an expert on the temple is sharing new insights into the past, present, and future. Right now on Jewish Voice with Jonathan Bernis.
Well, shalom and welcome to Jewish Voice, where we help you to discover the Jewish roots of your Christian faith. I'm Jonathan Bernis. Jerusalem is the holiest site of two religions, Judaism and Christianity, and next to Mecca, Islam as well. At the center of the ancient city is the Temple Mount. It's probably the most contested real estate in the entire world. It's also at the center of last days Bible prophecy. Is the temple going to be rebuilt? Has it already started? Where will the temple be built? And is the Temple Mount even the correct location of the ancient temple? And finally, is the Antichrist involved yet in this project? And if so, who is he? With us today is one of the foremost experts on this topic to answer these questions. Please welcome back to Jewish Voice, my good friend, Dr. Randall Price. Randall, welcome back. Thanks for joining me again. Boy, lots of questions being asked about the Temple Mount and whether it is going to be rebuilt. And you answered that yesterday, but let's start there. Is the Temple Mount going to be rebuilt?
Well, it definitely is going to be rebuilt. That is the temple on the Temple Mount. Temple Mount exists today, but that's because both the Old Testament and the New Testament scriptures say that is the case. We certainly have Jewish movements today, Orthodox movements who want to see the temple rebuilt. They've been in existence now for over 30 years, and in that 30 years, they've done a great deal to prepare for the building of the temple. Although the temple's not yet a structure that's been built, can't be because of the current political struggle on the site. They are ready for it whenever that's possible.
Really 20 years after Jerusalem came back into Jewish hands, came back in 1967, yes. Which was very relevant. Let me just do a parenthesis here. Why is 67 so important in the restoration of Jerusalem?
Well, 67 was the time in which Jerusalem comes under control of the Jewish people again. And the Temple Mount is part of that. And why that's significant is because all of the end-time events focus not just on Israel, but Jerusalem as its capital and the rebuilding of the temple. And the end-time events could not begin to take place until Jerusalem was once again in Jewish hands. Today, even though 67 put the Temple Mount under Israeli sovereignty, because of the sensitive nature, particularly from the world community, the international community, they were pressing Israel to make concessions with respect to the Islamic presence that had been there already for 1,300 years. And Moshe Dayan, one of the leading figures at the time, who was part of the Six-Day War itself, was a secularist. He was an Arabist, although he was an Israeli. And he believed that there was no real good reason to keep the Temple Mount for Jews, that the site could be returned to the Muslim authorities.
Other than being the holiest place, yes, in Judaism,
right,
in the Jewish faith.
Well,
he didn't care.
For most of Jewish history since AD 70, the Western Wall here behind us was the touch point with God. Prayers were put there believing a passage in the Song of Songs that said, "He hideth behind the wall." So, and in coming there, they would have this relationship with God. He would hear them. They would have this. So, what happened above that was somewhat irrelevant. There was no temple yet. Some believed it would come fully constructed from heaven in the last days. Others believed we had to wait for Messiah to come and point out the correct location. So they were content just to stay at the Western Wall. But in 67, that changed. Rabbi Shlomo Goren, who was the chaplain of the Israel Defense Forces, later became the chief Ashkenazi rabbi, thought the Messianic age had begun in 67 because he said, we've now turned a page in history. For 2,000 years, we were not here, and now we are. And, from 1948 to 67, Jordan controlled the site and prevented any Jewish presence at this western wall or the Temple Mount itself. So this was a turning point. Most of the Israelis who had come in part of the conquest of Jerusalem had never been there in their life. They were all 19, 20 years old. It was 19 years that had separated those two events. So he saw this as a turning point. He wanted to tear down the Dome of the Rock and build the temple. It was not the right time. There was certainly not a political climate for that. And Dayan said, look, most of the rabbis tell us that Jewish people aren't even allowed to set foot on the Temple
So
Mount.
you're saying that Rabbi Goren, back in 1967,
Yes.
actually wanted to rebuild the temple?
He did, yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, it's something that was not known at the time because it was a conflict with he and some of the generals, and they determined not to let some of this information out until the generals had died and Goren had died. It's now public knowledge, but they were concerned that he might do something to make this possible. Later, there were some underground movements. Later became the Temple movement that were trying to blow up the Dome of the
But it's
Rock.
fair to say that the movement, the modern movement to rebuild the temple, really began 20 years later in 1987.
Yes.
A book that you actually made reference to on another program I saw you on that actually claims that this Temple Mount is not the site of the original temple, that it's a fallacy. True or not true?
Well, there are a number of popular books that claim that the Western Wall is not the Western Wall of the Temple Mount, it's the Western Wall of the Antonia Fortress, and that the temple was actually built down in the Kidron Valley at the city of David. Now, I don't know of any Israeli that holds to this. I don't know any archaeologist that holds to that. And there are very good reasons for that, because all of history and archaeology testify to the fact that the temple was only built in one place. The first temple, second temple, and the place where the Muslims put the Dome of the Rock were all in the same place.
Randall, that's clear to me when you walk through the tunnels, the ancient tunnels that actually are parallel with the walls. We have these huge Herodian stones all the way down to bedrock. How do you dispute that?
Well, it's not just that. They would say, well, that could be the Antonia Fortress, a huge structure that defended Jerusalem. But there's another tunnel that people forget, and that starts down at the Pool of Siloam, way down in the south, and follows a monumental staircase that went all the way from that point up to the southern steps of the Temple Mount. And underneath it is a tunnel that is an escape tunnel that you can actually walk through today, where Jews at the time of the temple fled to escape from the Romans. And these structures themselves are tied together in history as being connecting the Temple Mount and the Pool of Siloam. And we have now uncovered them, and it's all there.
Give us some other reasons for people that have heard this argument before, just a couple of other reasons. One other reason before the break, why we know this is the correct place.
Well, I think first, the history of the Jewish people starts in the Bible. The Bible says the temple was built at a certain place. All the way down through Jewish history, it has been no contestation. It has always been that site. And when you come to realize that Jewish people never left the land of Israel, certainly they were scattered in the world, but there was always a Jewish remnant that remained in a city like Jerusalem. And they knew the facts. We read pilgrim accounts of Jews later in the 2nd century who were banned from coming to Jerusalem, coming back and going to that site, that very site for prayers, and then later from the Mount of Olives, looking over that site on Tisha B'Av, the 9th of the Hebrew month of Av, when the temple would be destroyed.
The history clearly runs so deep. We have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the movement to rebuild the temple, and why is the Temple Mount the most contested real estate on planet Earth. Then later, we'll visit one of our recent medical outreach clinics in Ethiopia. Many of the patients that come to our clinics have never even seen a doctor before. And just as important as the medical care, more important, in fact, we're helping them discover that Jesus, Yeshua, is their promised Messiah. An amazing story that you'll want to see.
Call now to order your copy of The Virtual Tour of the Temple. This simple-to-use DVD software program will help you discover the mystery of the Temple Mount, the holiest ground on earth. Find out how this sacred location fits into Bible prophecy and may signal the return of the Messiah. This DVD software program is like no other, revealing in a 360-degree view that allows you to interactively explore over 100 breathtaking panoramas at this amazing biblical site. You'll be given a rare full-color guided tour by renowned archeologist Dr. Randall Price, so you can experience the ancient temple as if you're really there. And this user-friendly software works with Mac or PC. Dr. Price secretly captured this astonishing undercover footage using high-resolution cameras, and he shares his expert insights into the temple's past, present, and future.
You can virtually tour that site itself.
We also want you to have Still Ready to Rebuild, a riveting DVD that uncovers plans to rebuild the temple. What is going on today on the Temple Mount that will shock the world? What is the media covering up? And how do these events connect to a coming Antichrist? And finally, we'll also include Is Peace Possible?, an insightful book by Rabbi Jonathan Bernis. This book will help you understand the Middle East at this crucial time in history. Is Peace Possible will guide you as you learn key steps to bless the land and people of Israel.
I want you to understand end-time prophecy. I want you to understand the role of Israel in the rebuilding of the temple and how that all fits into what's ahead.
Your gifts of support will also help Jewish communities worldwide who suffer from poverty, disease, and despair. For them, hope remains out of sight. You can be that hope by partnering with Jewish Voice to help improve the lives of those living in Jewish communities and their neighbors in dire need. By supporting the work of Jewish Voice, you enable us to provide crucial medical, dental, and eye care. More importantly, you're helping us share the good news of Yeshua with scattered Jewish tribes throughout the world. Anything you can do will make a difference in their lives. Remember, God has promised to bless those who bless the Jewish people. Call the number on your screen now to bless the Jewish people. You can also click or write with your gift of support by going to our website, jvmi.org, or writing to us at Jewish Voice, Post Office Box 6, Phoenix, Arizona, 85001. Please specify offer 1270 when giving $77 or more to receive your gifts. Call, click, or write.
Welcome back with my guest, Dr. Randall Price. Our topic this whole week is the temple. Is the temple being rebuilt? And Dr. Price, we left off on whether this is the actual site. And you've put together an amazing resource that I want you to talk about and answer the question through the resource, a virtual tour to the temple. 360 degrees. This is I've seen excerpts from this. It's amazing. Talk about this new creation of yours and how it answers the question of whether this is the right site.
Well, today it's very hard to know what the site is because if you go to the Temple Mount, if you're with an Israeli guide, he cannot talk about the Temple Mount as the Temple Mount. He cannot use those words. He cannot speak about its history. He cannot talk about Yeshua. If you go, you can't take a Bible. You can't take even a picture of the ancient temple. All that's forbidden.
All restricted by the Muslim community.
Right. The Muslim community now is, shall we say, an official policy. Deny a temple ever existed on that site. And so they don't want anyone to say something otherwise. What I wanted to do was get correct information out. So we went over a period of 3 years. We used the 360-degree camera so that a person with their computer can now self-tour the site. So it's the modern site. But as you decide where you want to go on the site, there are scores of video clips of me teaching on location, saying this is where it happened, here's why it happened, here's the evidence for how it happened, so that the location as well as all the events in both the Old and the New Testament can now be understood. Since you can't do it in Israel, this is a way you can virtually do it, sit in your own living room.
A virtual tour with Dr. Price. Awesome. And so how does this answer the question on whether we're in the right, this is the right location?
The archaeological evidence, even though Israelis have not been able to excavate on the Temple Mount because of the Islamic presence, they've been able to excavate in the, let's say, the shadow of the Temple Mount, all along the southwestern corner, all around the southern end, area we call the Ophel, between the Temple Mount and the city of David. What's been discovered there, for instance, one notable thing is a stone that says on it, "To the place of trumpeting." And it was mentioned by Flavius Josephus, a first century Jewish historian, who wrote and said this was the place where the priest would stand before Shabbat, blow the silver trumpets to let people know that the Shabbat was about to begin. And he would do the same thing when the Shabbat was to end. And he gives the place as this pinnacle of the temple, this corner of the temple. Well, this stone was found directly right below where the corner of the temple used to exist.
Right where it was supposed to be.
Yes, and it's clearly
beautiful.
Designed this way. You can see exactly where someone would stand and have those instructions. It wasn't moved from the other location because it was buried until 1996, because it was from 1993 to 1996 they started these excavations to reveal them for the 3,000th anniversary of Jerusalem.
Now, let me shift to the spiritual realities of this place we call the Temple Mount. I've heard you say this, it is the most contested real estate on the earth. Why is that?
Well, because we have
proof, by the way.
Well, we have three religions represented there. Christianity only barely, in the sense that Jesus carried out the last week of his ministry there. He was certainly dedicated there at his birth. Was there when he was 12. So it has this touch point with Christianity. But of course, for Judaism, it's the most sacred site. Every Jew on the face of the earth turns toward the Temple Mount and prays 3 times a day. Now we have Islam that has come in some 1,300 years ago, and because it's a supersessionist religion, that is, it takes the place of previous religions. It did that for Christianity, it did it for Judaism, and it said this is no longer the site of the temple, it's the site from which Muhammad ascended to heaven.
I want people to understand just how much conflict we're talking about here over the Temple Mount.
Well, daily you have this conflict now. Since the Islamic Authority is so sensitive about the site, they now have groups such as the Women in Black. These are women who are posted at the site and look for any possible Jewish person, even Christian people, anyone who would come that don't fit their profile, and then who might pray, so they will cause a riot, cause problems. Children are a new problem. They will throw rocks and they will yell. There's Allahu Akbar, great is Allah. And if they even suspect someone is Jewish or like this.
Is this because of the focal point of conflict between Judaism and Islam, or is this the effort of the enemy to keep a temple from being rebuilt so God's purpose can be fulfilled?
Well, it's certain both of those things. In other words, God works through these enemies of the Jewish people, and the ultimate enemy, which will come, will do the same thing. But I think for them, they had been so taught that there was never a Jewish presence in Jerusalem. The younger Muslims simply do not know the past. They do not know that in 1948, 2 states were offered, and one was an Arab state, and they rejected it. They do not know that the Arab nations invaded Israel. They think Israel occupied them.
Why does the temple have to be rebuilt?
It has to be rebuilt because for future prophecy to be fulfilled, a temple will exist. We read about it in the Olivet Discourse of Yeshua in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And we read about it in the book of Revelation that it says a temple will be standing when these things happen. The Old Testament talks about an Antichrist coming and usurping the place of God in the temple. That's also mentioned in the New Testament, 1 Thessalonians chapter 2.
I've got to cut you off. We're going to have Dr. Price back tomorrow, and we're going to push him against the wall to answer the question, is the Antichrist alive and at work to rebuild the temple? And if so, what is his identity? We'll talk about that tomorrow, so you don't want to miss it. We're offering a couple of Dr. Price's products. One is a virtual tour of the temple. We sow these things into your life. We're rebuilding the spiritual temple of Israel by reaching Jewish people with the gospel. That's the spiritual restoration of Israel. This is the physical restoration of Israel. It's all part of God's plan, and it concerns you. So I really encourage you to get the product. We're just offering it as a way to bless you for helping us to bless Jewish people. Well, what you're about to see now will grab your heart. It's the essence of what Jewish Voice is all about, helping Jewish people and their neighbors in some of the most remote places on earth. This video clip is from our recent clinic in a small village in Ethiopia called Tash Gaint. Take a look at this amazing story.
Shalom, I'm Ezra from Jewish Voice, and I want to welcome you to rural northern Ethiopia, the city of Tash Gaint, where we're about to start about an hour and a half from now, our first ever Jewish Voice medical outreach here. Behind me, what you see are literally over 1,000 people who by word of mouth heard about this clinic opening this morning, this Sunday morning, and have queued up since 7 a.m., 5 hours and 10 minutes ago, just to see a doctor.
The impact here, both medically and spiritually, has been really incredible.
It's just crazy, just a primitive way just to see these people, but how blessed they are to come through and to be touched by the ministry of Jewish Voice. And what an honor to be a part of it.
This may be the only time this year, or maybe in their lifetime, that they have the opportunity to receive the treatment they need for free, paid for by those like you who love and want to be a blessing to the Jewish people and their neighbors.
I think of one story of a young boy who had received trauma to his eye and probably would never have received care. And somehow they heard that there was an outreach here, and they found our team, and we were able to treat him surgically and restore that eye.
Think about tooth pain, mouth pain that you would have to live with every day for months or years without the ability to see a dentist, either because there isn't a dentist in your community or just because you can't afford to see one. So we're thrilled this week to provide this much needed relief in Yeshua's name.
You know, I could see the pictures and the little pamphlets and the updates Jonathan Burness gives us, but to grasp the magnitude of this, I didn't have an appreciation for that.
You see Yeshua's ministry here happening. I mean, people are sick. They've got disease-filled feet, eyes with disease, cataracts, and they're being medically treated and supernaturally healed by Jewish people from Israel, by Jewish people from the U.S., ministering to Jewish people at the ends of the earth.
It's really been evident that if Jewish Voice wasn't here, many of these people would not receive the care that they're receiving now. There just are very few options for people in this region. And we know and we trust that there is a greater plan here, and that's why we're here. And so what a privilege to be a part of it.
I don't think life gets any better than this. This is what we were made to do. So thank you, Jewish Voice, for making this possible.
One of the most rewarding things in our field, and it really has spiritual implications as well, is that somebody can walk up to us completely blind and within hours be seeing again for the first time. And so in a dramatic way, we often will see an elderly person who hasn't seen their loved one or their grandchild in a decade, and overnight we take off the patch, they can see, and there's much rejoicing. And it's an opportunity for us to really share what true vision is and who the true light is, Jesus Christ, Yeshua.
We're thrilled that these people are coming in pain, and they're going to leave without it, knowing that they're loved and blessed.
Call now to order your copy of The Virtual Tour of the Temple. This simple-to-use DVD software program will help you discover the mystery of the Temple Mount, the holiest ground on earth. Find out how this sacred location fits into Bible prophecy and may signal the return of the Messiah. This DVD software program is like no other, revealing in a 360-degree view that allows you to interactively explore over 100 breathtaking panoramas at this amazing biblical site. You'll be given a rare full-color guided tour by renowned archaeologist Dr. Randall Price, so you can experience the ancient temple as if you're really there. And this user-friendly software works with Mac or PC. Dr. Price secretly captured this astonishing undercover footage using high-resolution cameras, and he shares his expert insights into the temple's past, present, and future.
You can virtually tour that site itself.
We also want you to have Still Ready to Rebuild, a riveting DVD that uncovers plans to rebuild the temple. What is going on today on the Temple Mount that will shock the world? What is the media covering up? And how do these events connect to a coming Antichrist? And finally, we'll also include Is Peace Possible?, an insightful book by Rabbi Jonathan Bernis. This book will help you understand the Middle East at this crucial time in history. Is Peace Possible? Will guide you as you learn key steps to bless the land and people of Israel.
I want you to understand end-time prophecy. I want you to understand the role of Israel in the rebuilding of the temple and how that all fits into what's ahead.
Your gifts of support will also help Jewish communities worldwide who suffer from poverty, disease, and despair. For them, hope remains out of sight. You can be that hope by partnering with Jewish Voice to help improve the lives of those living in Jewish communities and their neighbors in dire need. By supporting the work of Jewish Voice, you enable us to provide crucial medical, dental, and eye care. More importantly, you're helping us share the good news of Yeshua with scattered Jewish tribes throughout the world. Anything you can do will make a difference in their lives. Remember, God has promised to bless those who bless the Jewish people. Call the number on your screen now to bless the Jewish people. You can also click or write with your gift of support by going to our website, jvmi.org, or writing to us at Jewish Voice, Post Office Box 6, Phoenix, Arizona, 85001. Please specify offer $12.70 when giving $77 or more to receive your gifts. Call, click, or write.
Jewish Voice is about helping people in need. It's about providing medical care and saving lives, but most importantly, it's about saving souls. We've helped tens of thousands, but it's nothing compared to the countless millions that we've yet to reach. We need to do more. We need you. There's no time to waste, so anything that you can do will make a difference. So please, pick up the phone and call today. Well, we're out of time, but before I go, I want to remind you, as I do in every program, to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. The Bible says they shall prosper that love thee. I want to invite you to join us again tomorrow as we continue our discussion with Dr. Randall Price, Is the Temple Being Rebuilt?
This is Israel's most sacred ground, the Temple Mount in Old Jerusalem. For centuries, it's been a source of conflict. What's ahead for this holy place? New insight from an expert. Next time on Jewish Voice with Jonathan Bernis.